I don't know what possessed me to stay after class that day. Maybe it was the way she said my name, softer than usual, or maybe it was just that I couldn't stop wondering how someone could look that calm while making my heart stutter like that. Her name was Dr. Alara Hart, but no one ever used her full title. To most people, she was just Hart. To me, she was hard to explain. She wasn't what you'd expect from a university lit professor. Late 40s, maybe. Elegant, but not in the way people try. She wore simple jewelry, lived in pencil skirts and dark blouses, and had this habit of pinning her hair up when she was about to tear someone's essay apart. And somehow, the room always felt quieter when she walked in. Like even time made space for her. I never thought she noticed me. I wasn't one of those straight-A, front-row types. I sat near the back, scribbled half-legible notes, and mostly kept my head down. But I listened. God, I listened. She could read from Jane Eyre and make it sound like a confession. That day, the room had emptied slowly. Chairs scraping, bags zipping, casual laughter fading out the door. I was halfway to packing up when she said, "Can you stay a minute?" I looked up. Her tone was casual, but her eyes weren't. She waited until the last student left. Then she walked to the door, turned the lock with a soft click, and leaned against it like she didn't even realize what she'd done, like she was letting the space between us shrink in real time. "There's something off about you lately," she said. I swallowed. "Off? You don't speak up, but you're always watching." Her voice dipped. "There's a weight in your silences. I hear it." My mouth went dry. I started, then stopped. That was when she looked directly at me. Not the way a professor looks at a student, but the way a woman looks at a man she maybe shouldn't be looking at. A little too long. A little too steady. "I read your essay again," she said after a pause. "The part about regret. That wasn't about the novel, was it?" I couldn't answer. Not really. My fingers tightened around the strap of my bag. She saw that. I wasn't wrong, was I? "No," I said, before I could talk myself out of it. She looked away briefly. Something shifted in her, a falter, maybe. Then, quietly, "Do you ever write things you hope someone notices?" Her voice was quieter now. Slower. The kind of tone that makes your skin feel too tight for your bones. I nodded. We didn't say anything for a moment. Then she reached out, not touching but close, and brushed a sheet of paper that had fallen between us. Her hand hovered near mine, almost grazing, almost intentional. The tension felt so thick it made the air itself hard to breathe. Finally, she said it, barely a whisper, "Maybe I did too." And just like that, everything changed. I should have left right then. I could have picked up my bag, mumbled something like, "See you next class," and walked out. Door unlocked. Boundaries intact. But I didn't move, and neither did she. Something about the way she said that last line. Maybe I did too. It wasn't flirtation. It was quieter, worn down, almost sad. She reached behind her, pulled a small folder from her desk, and handed it to me without a word. Inside was my essay, marked up in her handwriting. Not the usual sharp red pen, but soft graphite. Like she didn't want to make anything permanent. "You write like someone twice your age," she said. "I mean that as a compliment, mostly." I half smiled. "You say that like it's a warning." "It is," she said, her voice dipping. "People who feel too much too young, they tend to burn out early." That hung in the air a little too long. Like maybe she was talking about someone else. I watched her then. The lines near her mouth when she tried not to smile. The faint smudge of eyeliner she hadn't noticed. Her hands, always moving when she spoke, now still, folded in her lap. Her blouse had a button slightly loose at the wrist, and I kept looking at it like it meant something. I wanted to say something normal, a joke, anything. But what came out instead was, "Are you okay?" Her eyes flicked up to mine. Fast, unreadable. "I just mean," I started. "You seem like something's been off lately." A slow breath escaped her nose. Her posture shifted, a bit more closed off, like I'd grazed a nerve she hadn't meant to show. "My divorce finalized 2 weeks ago," she said quietly. "Not that it matters. He left 2 years before the papers did." I didn't know what to say to that. She didn't seem like the kind of person you comfort. She seemed like the kind who'd take comfort as an insult. She stood and moved to the bookshelf behind her desk. Ran her fingers along the spines without really reading them. "I didn't tell anyone here. Not because I care what they think, but because I don't think anyone would have noticed." That hit harder than I expected. I couldn't tell if it was the way she said it, like it wasn't a complaint, just a truth she'd learned to live with, or the fact that I had noticed, that I'd been noticing everything. I stepped closer, not quite beside her, but enough that I could smell the trace of her perfume. Something faint and warm, like amber or cedar. "You're not invisible," I said, barely above a whisper. She didn't turn, but her fingers stilled on a book spine. Then she said something I wasn't ready for. "Can you stay a little longer?" I nodded before my brain caught up to my mouth. And when she turned toward me, her hand brushed my arm. Just enough to feel like static, just enough to leave everything shaking. I told myself I'd just sit down, that I'd stay for 5 more minutes, maybe 10. That I'd keep it professional, keep a safe distance. But safe stopped being possible the moment she sat beside me. Not across the desk this time, but next to me. Close enough that her knee brushed mine when she shifted. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of her presence like a spotlight. She held a book in her lap. Worn corners, soft pages. Mrs. Dalloway. She opened it somewhere near the middle and handed it to me, finger resting lightly beneath a line. She felt somehow very like him, the young man who had killed himself. She felt glad that he had done it, thrown it away. Her voice was soft, but steady. She didn't look at me when she said it. I didn't know what to say. There was a silence where an answer should have gone, and she didn't fill it. Just let it sit there, strange and heavy. "I used to hate that line," she said finally, "until I didn't." My throat felt tight. I should have asked what she meant. I should have made a joke. But all I could do was stare at the book, at the space where her fingers met the page. Pale, elegant, motionless. I heard myself ask, "Have you ever done that? Thrown something away because it scared you?" She looked at me then, really looked. Her expression didn't soften. It sharpened, like she saw right through the casualness in my voice and into the very thing I didn't know I was revealing. "Yes," she said. No hesitation. A silence settled between us again, but this time it didn't feel awkward. Felt like something waiting to break. And then a knock. Quick, sharp tap-tap on the door, followed by another. She stiffened. I could almost hear her heartbeat next to mine. "I thought you locked it," I whispered. "I did." She stood, smoothed her skirt like armor, and walked to the door. Didn't open it, just said through the wood, "I'm finishing something. Please come back in 15. A voice answered, a male one, casual, laughing. "Sorry, Dr. Hart. Didn't know you had someone in there." She didn't respond, just waited. Only when his footsteps faded did she turn back to me. Not embarrassed, not flustered, but quieter, guarded. I stood halfway. "I should go." Her eyes met mine. "Do you want to?" I froze. She took a step closer. Just one. She didn't reach for me, didn't move to touch, but something in her gaze said everything she wouldn't. "You look at me like I'm not supposed to know," she said, barely above a whisper. "But I do." My pulse spiked. I wasn't trying to. I started, but the sentence broke in my throat. "I know," she said gently. Then, almost absently, like it meant nothing, her fingers brushed my wrist. Just the edge. Just enough. I didn't move. Neither did she. The moment held too long, too close, too quiet. Are we about to cross it? That line we've both pretended didn't exist? Because now, it was right there. You should hate me a little, she said suddenly. The words hit the air before I could understand them. She was still standing close, too close, and the low desk lamp cast soft gold along her collarbone. Her arms were folded now, but not defensively, like she was trying to hold herself together. Why? I asked. Because I know what this looks like, she said, and I haven't stopped it. I tried to swallow, but the lump in my throat stayed. I'm not a kid, I said. I know. Her voice was steady, but her eyes weren't. That's what makes it worse. We stood there, caught in something we hadn't named yet but couldn't ignore. The hum of the old light fixture filled the silence like static. I could hear my own breathing. Hers too. Shallow. Held. She turned slightly, resting her hand on the edge of the desk behind her. I've been grading your essays at night, she said, like a confession. Reading them again when I don't need to, like they're telling me something I forgot how to feel. I stared at her, not knowing how to hold that sentence. Felt naked, and I wanted to say something to meet her in that space, but everything in my chest was a tangle. Then she looked at me. A real look, no pretense, no distance. Tell me something true, she said softly. Just one thing. I could have said 1,000 things. I could have told her how many times I reread her feedback just to feel noticed. How I sat in the back row because I was scared I'd watch her too openly up close. How I didn't know the difference between admiration and something more until the moment she locked that door. But all I said was, I think about you at night. Her breath caught. Barely, but I saw it. Felt it. Is that what this is? She asked. Just fantasy? I shook my head. No, it's not just that. A beat. The air between us shimmered with something electric. Then she said, Do you want this because it's me? Or because I'm not allowed? That question split something wide open. I felt it. I stepped closer. Just enough that I could see the fine lines near her eyes, the slight tremble in her fingers where they gripped the desk behind her. I want this, I said, because I see you, not just the version in class, not just the one who quotes Virginia Woolf, the one who forgot what it's like to be looked at like she matters. Her eyes shined, but she didn't blink. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. The silence grew so thick it felt like it might collapse around us. Then, slowly, she tilted her head just slightly, eyes still locked on mine. And then she asked the question that changed everything. If I told you to kiss me, would you? The room didn't breathe, and neither did I. If I told you to kiss me, would you? I was still frozen in that question, like the air itself had thickened around it. My mouth opened barely, not to answer, but just to breathe. Then her phone buzzed, loud in the silence. Once, then again. She didn't move to pick it up, but the name on the screen lit up in white. Dean Collins. Not just faculty. Administration. My chest tightened. Her hand moved slowly, pressing the side button, silencing it. Still, the moment had shifted. The tension hadn't disappeared. It had twisted into something colder, sharper. I wasn't expecting that, I said quietly, nodding toward the phone. She sighed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. He's complicated, she said. He thinks we're... She paused. He's the reason I never report late grades anymore. I didn't need more explanation. I understood that tone. The way women talk around things they've survived. But what she said next hit harder. He's also the one who recommended you for the honors track. Said he saw your name on my roster and thought I'd be a good fit to inspire you. My stomach turned. Wait, what? I stepped back, just slightly. You've talked about me? She nodded slowly. Not in the way you think. I shut it down. But I should have told you. I didn't want to make it worse. Worse. The word echoed. That meant this wasn't just something she was feeling now. She'd noticed me, back then, before this. How long? I asked. How long have you? She closed her eyes. Since the first time you stayed after class. You asked about Baldwin, and I pretended not to notice how nervous you were. But I did. I swallowed. Hard. I thought I was imagining it, I said. The way you looked at me sometimes. Like you saw something I didn't know how to hide. She looked up again, softer this time. I did. And I kept seeing it. And I didn't stop myself. I didn't know what to do with that, the honesty of it. The guilt in her voice didn't cancel the truth. It made it feel more dangerous. But then I said the thing that had been knotting in my chest for days. You make me feel like I'm not invisible. Her face changed, a flicker of recognition, or maybe pain. She stepped forward again, hand brushing mine without meaning to, or maybe meaning everything. But just as her lips parted to speak, another knock at the door, this time louder, heavier. Not a student. Her head turned. Her hand dropped from mine. A voice followed, male, clipped, official. Dr. Hart? Sorry to interrupt, but the dean needs a word. We both went still. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time I saw fear in them. Not shame, not guilt, just fear. She turned back to the door, but before she opened it, she whispered, "Don't say anything. Not yet." The door handle clicked, and I stood there, heart racing, realizing we weren't just close to the line anymore. We were on it. The door shut behind her. The hallway swallowed her footsteps. I stood there, alone in her office, every second stretching like it might snap. The book still sat open on the desk. Mrs. Dalloway, spine cracked, pages marked with tiny notes in her faded pencil. My hand trembled as I closed it. She'd told me not to say anything. I waited. She exhaled, walked slowly past me, and sat down at her desk like nothing had happened. Like we hadn't just been teetering on the edge of something irreversible. "I handled it," she said. I nodded. I figured. She didn't look at me when she asked, "Do you regret it?" There was no context, but I knew exactly what she meant. "No," I said. "Do you?" She closed her eyes for a beat. "I regret not stopping it sooner. And I regret not being strong enough to want to." The room felt too quiet after that. I walked to the desk, placed my hands on the edge like I needed the wood to ground me. "You don't have to pretend now," I said. "We're past that." She looked up and for the first time didn't look away. "I tried," she said, "to stay in control, to be what I was supposed to be." Her voice broke slightly, but every time you looked at me, you saw past it. Like I was more than just the woman in front of the class. And it scared me how much I needed that. I wanted to reach for her, to take her hand, to say something beautiful and clean and cinematic. But this wasn't a movie. So all I said was, "You're not just a title to me. You never were." Tears welled in her eyes, but they didn't fall. Her lips parted like she might speak, then closed again. After a moment, she stood, slowly walked around the desk until she was in front of me. And when she finally touched me, her hand resting gently on my chest, it wasn't lust. It wasn't impulse. It was surrender. "Whatever this is," she whispered, "we can't do it halfway." My voice was low, cracked. "I wasn't going to." She leaned forward, resting her forehead against mine. And for a moment there were no roles, no rules. Just two people who found each other in the quiet spaces between who they were supposed to be. "Then promise me," she said, her voice a breath. "I'm not walking away," I said, and I meant it, every word. We didn't leave her office right away. There was no kiss, no dramatic music swelling in the background. Just her hands still on my chest, and mine finding hers, fingers gently wrapping around. A quiet promise exchanged without a single perfect word. When we finally opened the door, the hallway was empty, clean, quiet, like nothing had happened. But something had. We didn't rush into anything after that. We didn't pretend we could go back to student and professor like nothing changed. We didn't dive into some reckless secret romance either. Instead, She recused herself from grading the rest of my semester work. She made it official, professional. I got transferred to another faculty member, no questions asked. That's how she handled it. With grace, with caution. Like she was protecting something she wasn't willing to destroy for the sake of immediacy. We didn't see each other for a while after that. But she sent a message the day grades came out. You still write like someone who's been carrying more than he should. I stared at it for a long time before typing back. You still read like someone who wants to be seen but doesn't know how to ask. There wasn't a reply. Not that day. But 2 weeks later, I saw her again. Not in a classroom. Not in a hallway. Just two people in the same quiet bookstore downtown. She was reaching for a poetry collection I already owned. I handed her my copy instead. She smiled. Not that half-smile she used in class. A real one. We sat at a nearby cafe, didn't talk about the past. Just books, music, regret, hope. We let the hours slip between us like nothing had broken. Just unfolded differently than we expected. And somewhere in that afternoon we stopped holding back. Not in any dramatic way. No big kiss in the rain. Just a hand reaching across the table. A thumb brushed across a wrist. A quiet, shared understanding. This wasn't about age, or power, or rebellion. It was about timing, recognition. The way someone's presence can feel like home after too many years of being misunderstood. She's no longer my professor. I'm no longer her student. But something in both of us stayed. Something truer than we had words for when it began. We didn't fall in love overnight. We grew into it. From a locked door to a wide-open future. And every pause, every look, every silence in between, it mattered.